So a few weeks ago on a Thursday, I was at my daughter's gymnastics practice with my wife. And my wife turns to me and looks at me and she says, "Are you okay? You seem really stressed." And my honest reaction to that was to laugh at the question, and not because it was a dumb question. I just wasn't expecting it, because my response back to her was like, "That's interesting because this is actually the least stressed I've felt in the last couple months." If you were to take me back to a couple months ago, I was so much more stressed than this. I actually feel fine now. We talked a little bit about it back and forth, and just kind of sharing with her where I was at, what I was experiencing in life and business. And really didn't think much of the conversation until a few days later. And on Sunday night, I was journaling going into the week, and waiting for my daughter to go to bed. And I usually just journal, and I was writing about how, man, I'm just dreading going into the week, and I just wish I could find fun in the process of business again. And it was one of those things where it just felt like I had so much that I needed to do, and I was trying to eat the whole damn elephant when I just needed to take a bite. um, again, but as a data point, I didn't even really put two and two together until the following morning on Monday. I'm sitting there at the kitchen table, drinking my morning coffee, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm honestly drinking this coffee, and like, I'm not even getting a real kick from it. It just feels like it's getting me to baseline where I can just function normally. And that's when I really started to think about my wife's question and be like, man, maybe I may not be feeling stressed, or, even call it burnt out, but, she's clearly seeing something that I'm not feeling, or maybe she's even feeling it, right? So it's in that moment that I, picture, probably the movie Limitless, or even Alan from The Hangover, and you see all these things just combobulating in the head, and I'm like connecting all the dots, and I'm like, man, think back to last week. Like, I was having so much trouble trying to connect my ideas. Like, I had these ideas coming, and I would start taking action on them, whether it was content, this or that or the other. And it's just like I couldn't link all my thoughts together and let the idea come to fruition. Or I was creating content. I'm like, man, this just, like, for lack of a better word, just fucking sucks. Like, um, and I just wasn't enjoying anything. I wasn't having the fun. Like, I just felt like I was having such a hard time concentrating in this brain fog. And it was in that moment on Monday morning that all these dots just started to connect. And I'm like, okay, Colin, like, honestly, when is the last time that you took a break? And I couldn't really answer that question besides 6 months prior around Christmas time. And we're, sitting here in June at this point, right? So it was in that moment that I decided to take the week off. I had one client call that I needed to take, but at the same time, um, you know, that experience throughout the week in and of itself was such an interesting experience, because the first couple of days, even that Monday, I'm like, I knew I needed to take that time off, but I felt guilty. I struggled. I was just like, man, there's probably something I should be doing, or that I need to be doing. There's probably just a little bit of work that I should take care of. And it's like, no, no, Colin, like, just take a break, just disconnect. Like, you doing this for a week is honestly not going to hurt the business. So, that feeling lasted for like the first couple of days, then get into day three, and I journaled each day to like document it. And um, what I started noticing is, like, my mind was slowing down. Like, I had this clarity, like the brain fog had lifted, like even physically, like I was feeling lighter. I just didn't feel like I was carrying so much weight. And it started to feel so much better. And you honestly know what I did that whole week instead of working is I um, took care of all the open loops that I had around the house, all the little projects, the little improvements, the things that I've been putting off, which again, such a sign that, like, I wasn't doing those things because it was time to get to the weekend. I felt like I just needed to, recover. I didn't have the energy to do it. So then all these things were compiling outside of the business, and everything started to feel so heavy. Now, not to make a long story too short, but then come on to this other side, getting back into this week, and I have all this creativity, this flow. I'm having fun with things again, and I just need to take some time off and to disconnect and give myself some space, which sometimes is just the hardest thing. And I see it with my clients who are business owners as well. And sometimes the best thing that we can do for ourselves and for the business is to actually disconnect from it.